Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and the culture. This is WallBuilders Live, where we're talking about today's hottest topics on policy and faith and other areas of the culture, always looking at it from a biblical, historical, and constitutional perspective. With those three things, you're going to come up with the right answer on any issue. And we're doing that here with David Barton. He's America's premier historian and our founder and president here at WallBuilders. Also here with Tim Barton, national speaker and pastor. And my name's Rick Green. I'm a former Texas state representative. You can find out more about us and the organization at wallbuilders.com and wallbuilderslive.com. Check out both those websites, new websites, great information there, and really easy to navigate and find what you're looking for. So go check them out today, wallbuilders.com and wallbuilderslive.com. David, Tim, I was rereading the Constitution recently, and I found some things in there I had never noticed, even all the classes we've done. But I'm going through the Bill of Rights, and I didn't realize it said, you had the freedom of press while you're in your own state, and freedom of religion, but only in your own state, and right to keep and bear arms, but only when you're in your home state, not when you travel to the other 12 colonies, or now in our case, the other 49 states. And it was shocking to me that was there.
I can't believe you've read the Constitution that many times and you didn't see that. I mean, the first time I remember watching National Treasure, and they went and got the lemon juice and they poured it on the Declaration. They had to heat it up, and it showed the invisible ink, what was there. I mean, I did that to the Constitution years ago, so I knew that was there for a long time.
Well, it was news to me. So it's disappointing. I was really. I mean, I enjoy the fact that when we're in our home state, we can protect our family and our loved ones, and not just in our home, but when we go out to eat or we're traveling across the state. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when we all three do a lot of travel, when I'm have to stop and fill up for gas at midnight somewhere, and I'd like to know that as I'm walking into that convenience store to pay for that gas, that I've got my good friend Sig Sauer on my hip, and if something happens, I'm Lord willing, able to defend the family. I should be able to do that when I go to a neighboring state as well, right? Or some other state in this great union of ours. But some states I can't do that.
Your problem is you're using common sense, and you can't mix common sense with the Constitution with the current judges that we have.
And I do think we need to point out, obviously we're joking about the Constitution and about the application of states.
Not there, that only in your state thing. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Tim. Yes, definitely not there.
But see, what happens is we are kind of in a new period politically right now, where that for constitutional folks and conservative folks and faith-based folks and traditional value folks and those who like America folks, there's kind of a window of opportunity that we haven't had in a number of years. And as a result, with the fact that you now have Republican in the White House and in the Senate and in control of the House, there's the opportunity to be able to do a little more. Now, it's not a guarantee, because even though Republicans have the majority, they don't have the 60 votes in the Senate, and that still is the low threshold for which you have to jump. But having said that, they're now introducing bills and doing things that we haven't seen done in a number of years. And one of those bills by a great congressman out of North Carolina, Richard Hudson, is introducing a bill on national reciprocity. And reciprocity means that you recognize the laws of one state and another in a general sense for me as a citizen. As I travel from one place to another, if I have a contract in one state, I can go into another state. That contract is not void just because I went into another state. And the same with so many things that I have. If I've got health insurance in one state, I don't lose it because I've gone into another state. So many things are transportable across state lines, except the right to defend yourself, Rick, as you pointed out. You can defend yourself in the state of Texas, but if I take my family into a different state, then I can't defend them there anymore. How come? The Constitution says I have an inalienable right of self-defense. I have the inalienable right to keep and bear arms. It's because we have some states that don't like the Constitution, don't like guns. And so what's happened is Richard Hudson has put in a bill working with some of the great gun organizations in the United States that believe in the Constitution and what it says about the Second Amendment. And so now we have a window of opportunity where we might be able to do something about this and set aside some of this anti-constitutional stuff that's been there on the right to defend yourself. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. So Erich Pratt, who's with Gun Owners for America, has been working closely with the congressman on this. It's right that they should, because they're one of the premier gun groups in America, gun rights groups in America. And so it'll be really fun to get the update and see where we are on this new piece of legislation.
Erich Pratt, our special guest today. Stay with us. He'll be with us when we return on WallBuilders Live. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. With us today from Gun Owners of America, the executive director there, Erich Pratt. Erich, thanks for your time, man.
Hey, you're very welcome. It's great to be with you, Rick.
Hey, thanks for all y'all do to defend our Second Amendment rights and just y'all do a significant work around the country. National level, state level, folks need to know more. They go to gunowners.org. They need to join, be life members like myself and get involved in what you guys are doing. You've got a very important battle happening right now in D.C. that I have to admit, even as a constitutionalist and pushing for it for the Second Amendment reasons, I got a selfish motive on this one because I travel and speak, and I hate going to states where I can't carry. You've got an effort for a national concealed carry reciprocity bill. Tell us what that means. Tell our listeners what that means and what they can do to help.
Well, absolutely. Well, reciprocity basically means if you are authorized to carry in one state, because we live in a union of states, you should be able to carry anywhere else, just like your driver's license. You don't have to get permitted in every state or specifically recognized by every state. Just having it in one state means that you're good in all states, and that's really important. You know, gun owners held a briefing a couple weeks ago for congressmen and their staffs, and we brought in a special speaker, Shaine Allen. She's a resident of Philadelphia. She had been robbed twice. She's a single mother of two, and she figured, I need to take my own protection into account. And so she, God bless her, got a gun, got a permit for that gun to carry it, and she thought she was good to go. She's going to be able to protect herself and the kids. Well, she just assumed that concealed carry permit in Pennsylvania would be just like her driver's license. And so she lives right next to the border of New Jersey. She was getting some stuff one night for her for an upcoming birthday party for one of her children, and a cop pulls her over. Now, he never told her why, and that's actually a big question mark. It could be, we don't know if it was profiling or what. I mean, she is black. But she just volunteered the information. Hey, I have a concealed carry permit. She thought that's what you do. That's what she would have done in Pennsylvania, and it would have been no problem. The problem is, though, New Jersey does not recognize Pennsylvania permits. So here's a woman who was doing nothing wrong in terms of, aggressive or violating anybody else's rights or attacking anyone, and yet she goes to jail for over 40 days for simply exercising her Second Amendment rights. And that's what this legislation seeks to correct. It says, look, if you are a law-abiding citizen and you're authorized in one state, then as you were just saying earlier, Rick, now you'll be able to carry that firearm in any state in the union.
So let me get this right, Eric. So if I fly into, let's say Oregon right now, and need to, and I don't have anybody there picking me up, and I need to rent a car and drive to my hotel or to whatever event I'm going to, my Texas driver's license, I can't drive in Oregon because it's a Texas driver's license. There's no reciprocity, right? I gotta allow somebody there that. No, of course, I can drive, right? So if I can drive a car, but a car is so much more safer than a gun. We don't kill near as many people a year in America with cars as we,
But actually we do, right?
A lot more, right? So what you said about the driver's, I never thought about that comparison. You're exactly right. I mean, if a driver's license is reciprocal in 50 states, then why not a license to carry your weapon that's going to protect your family?
And you just hammered the nail right there. To protect yourself and your family. This has real life consequences. At this briefing that we had for Congress a couple weeks ago, I talked about Sandy Havel. It's a very sad story. He's an Army veteran from New Hampshire who was permitted to carry in New Hampshire, but the internet company he worked for had branches in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, and so occasionally he would travel into Massachusetts to work. Well, on a day after Christmas, all the workers are in there. He's in the Massachusetts branch, but being the law-abiding citizen that he was, he would refuse to carry. He would leave his gun back on the New Hampshire side of the border, wouldn't take it into Massachusetts. And sadly, on this particular day, in fact, this guy has his own Wikipedia page, which is usually not a good thing. Michael McDermott goes through the office. He's upset because the IRS is garnishing his wages, and he's going to take it out on his fellow employees. And nobody there was armed. Now, Sandy Havel could have been armed. I mentioned he's an Army veteran. He was also an FFL. He's been, people say he was a very deeply religious man, a widower, a father of four. Well, he was also a very brave man. He barricaded several of his fellow employees into a room, and he goes out to confront this monster. And, of course, he's totally disarmed, but he just figured he had to do something, and he tries to talk this guy down. And sadly, Michael McDermott wasn't going to have any of it, just leveled the shotgun to his face and pulled the trigger. And that day, there was a mass shooting that occurred that day. Sandy Havel was number 3. 4 more people would die. But Sandy Havel could have stopped that. If he had not been disarmed by the laws of Massachusetts and failing to recognize a permitted, law-abiding concealed carrier from New Hampshire, he could have had a gun that day, and he could have stopped it, just like the doctor who stopped the mass shooting at a Darby hospital in 2014, or just like the Uber driver stopped the mass shooting on a Chicago street corner in 2015, or just like a firefighter from South Carolina stopped a mass shooting at a nearby school last year. Mass shootings get stopped in their tracks when good people are able to protect themselves, but when they're disarmed, they become victims of gun control. Thankfully, Shaine Allen, who we were just talking about earlier, didn't have something as tragic. She only spent 40 days in jail for simply possessing a firearm. But for Sandy Havel, it cost him his life.
Well, and what a shame that it is the law itself that is disarming, or I should say bad legislators passing laws disarming folks instead of protecting their Second Amendment right to protect themselves and their families. They're literally taking that away, and in this case, not just, as you said, for the one individual, but for others that he could have saved. And I think that's one thing the gun control people don't understand is there are millions of us out there that are trained and take that seriously and spend a lot of time and money and effort to be trained and be prepared in case evil confronts us. And it's not just a benefit to us and our family. It is a benefit to the community. You can't have and don't want a police officer in every store and on every corner. They just physically can't do it. And yet here's all these great Americans out there willing to lay down their lives if necessary to defend others, and these people don't want us to. And so what this bill that you're working on with Congressman Hudson out of it's North Carolina, I think
North
it is.
North Carolina, correct.
Yeah, you guys are saying, hey, give these folks a chance to defend themselves, their family, and, frankly, the people in your state that you aren't protecting and allowing your citizens to protect. That Texan's going to visit your state and be carried and be willing to protect. I mean, you're just saying let people exercise their rights.
Yeah, people want to be safe. A Rasmussen poll found that almost 70% of Americans want to live in a neighborhood where there are guns. It's only a small percentage of people that actually don't feel safer with firearms. And you just look at places where people can't protect themselves. Like look at Germany. They are being overrun by violent immigrants, and the rape rate has shot through the roof. And, people are arming themselves with illegal guns. It's that basic sense of wanting to protect yourself. In fact, it's gotten so crazy in Germany, one woman invented what she calls safe shorts. These are athletic shorts that a woman can pull it tight if she feels threatened, and it becomes a chastity belt, but also sounds a siren. And the creator of this idea said, well, I wanted to develop a protection that makes women feel more secure. Well, of course, that's already been invented. That's the 9mm or the 38 caliber.
That's right.
It's the old adage, God created men and women, but Sam Colt made them equal. And so that's what Hudson is trying to do. He's trying to make it so people can protect themselves, and not just in their homes, but, the idea that your self-defense shouldn't end at your state border. The bill has over 150 co-sponsors in a little over a month. That is outstanding success. So this bill is moving real fast. People can go to our website at gunowners.org and get more information on this. In fact, there's alerts at the top of the page that people can use to email their congressman with just a couple clicks of the mouse. We've got pre-written letters addressed to each individual congressman. You just select. You just push the button, and it automatically selects your congressman based on your zip code. It sends them a letter urging them to co-sponsor this legislation, which is very important. There's still some good folks that aren't on this bill yet, and Hudson wants to get this over 218 co-sponsors. That would be half of the Congress. So we're almost there. I mean, relatively speaking, and in just a little over a month, getting 150, we have no doubt we should be able to get to 218. And then he wants to get a vote on this, and it's sure to pass at that point.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a huge gain in a short period of time. And one other thing I just wanted to add, Eric, we talked about the individuals and the people, and even in those mass shooting type situations, the women out there. The stories, unfortunately, there's way too many of them that are capable of defending themselves with a weapon, trained to do so, sometimes not allowed to do so, whether it's on a college campus or, in this case, when they're traveling in another state. And it's just a crime against humanity that our government is disarming these women, and they end up in a very terrible situation being harmed. So this will benefit them as well. This is a great piece of legislation that can defend our Constitution and give people the right to defend themselves. So it's H.R. 38. That's the number.
A good number, isn't it? Yes, H.R. 38.
Love it. H.R. 38. Folks, like Eric said, it's so easy. Go to gunowners.org. They've got it all set up for you where you can just hit the link, hit the clicks. And I promise you, I can tell you as a former legislator, it does matter. Your voice matters. And the more that these congressmen get, the more letters, the more calls, the more of an impact it has, especially to get them to sign on as a co-author, let alone to vote on that final vote. Eric, God bless you guys for what you're doing, man. I really enjoyed our conversation. Hope to get you back again soon.
Would love to. Thanks so much, Rick. Take care.
Gunowners.org is the website. That's Erich Pratt, Executive Director, Gun Owners of America. We'll be right back with David and Tim Barton. We're back on WallBuilders Live. Thanks for staying with us. Back with David and Tim Barton now. Thanks to Erich Pratt for joining us from Gun Owners of America. And David, as he was talking, I was thinking back to what you said at the beginning of the program, just the kind of the atmosphere and the opportunities that are before us right now in 2017. And I guess this is like a lot of pieces of legislation that, even if it had been filed in the last 8 years, everybody knew the president would veto it, so there was no hope it would pass. Whereas now, you've got a major piece of constitutional defense legislation here that's going to give us the right to defend our family, and people actually have a lot of hope that there's a good chance of getting it passed and having a president that'll sign it.
Well, the fact you have 150 congressional co-sponsors in 1 month, that is huge. There's a lot of bills that never get more than 20 or 30 congressional co-sponsors. So the fact you got 150 folks already on it and he's only worked it for 1 month. And as Richard points out, if he gets 218, that's how many votes it takes to win this thing in the House. And so it's a sure thing to go to the Senate. Now, what happens, and I love what Eric said, go to their website, click the mouse on the top of their webpage. It'll connect you to your congressman. You can send a message to him right there. It's an individual message. You can let your voice be heard. I mean, it's one of the easiest ways to engage. And it's an individual voice. It's not like signing a petition, which often is very, very ineffective. This is you communicating directly with your congressman. And congressmen are pretty sensitive to not taking emails and not taking things that don't have the right zip code if they're not one of your constituents that you really don't care to hear from them because they don't represent you. So the fact that Eric has got this set up to where it goes directly to your congressman is a huge, huge deal. And when you ask your congressman to co-sponsor this, and as he points out, we need more than the 150 we got. There's some others that ought to be on there, and maybe they will be on there and should be on there by the time this gets done. That's something that's really easy for us individually to be able to do. So I encourage folks to do that. Go to the Gun Owners of America website, get up there on top, find out who your congressman is, and you can send them a simple message on this just with the click of a mouse.
Yeah, and we'll, of course, as always, make it easy. There'll be a link at wallbuilderslive.com today so you can jump right over directly to that page and participate in that way. This affects everybody. I mean, even if you don't.
Now, Rick, let me jump there because it does. How can you say it affects everybody when it's the Constitution that gives everybody the right to keep and bear arms? What do you mean it affects? And I say that facetiously. Can you imagine we're having to pass a law, a statute, to uphold what the Constitution already guarantees? One of the pieces we have at WallBuilders is a piece called exceptional. And exceptional looks at the 161 words in the Declaration on which the entire Constitution is built. It sets forth 6 principles of government. And the first is there's a Creator God. The second is the Creator God gives certain guaranteed sets of rights to mankind that no human government is allowed to regulate. And the third is that government exists primarily to protect those rights. Well, guess what? One of those rights they specifically listed was the right of every citizen to keep and bear arms. You have a right of self-defense. And all this bill does is say, hey, we're just standing with what the Constitution says. We think everybody has a right to defend themselves. And, Eric gave those great examples, that lady in Philadelphia who thought she was fine by declaring what she had and thought that it was reciprocity. Like a driver's license, you should be able to do that. And then on the other hand, the guy who got killed because in Massachusetts he's not able to have his gun with him, and so instead of saving several other lives, 4 more were killed after that incident that he could have stopped right there. And then Erich went through and rattled off the list of all these mass shootings that have been stopped and prevented because somebody had a gun. I mean, that's why it's a God-given right. You have the right to defend yourself, and we're having to pass the legislation to do that. But the good news is that we should be able to get this passed fairly easily, and that's going to be good.
Got to take a quick break, guys. We'll come back with our closing segment today. Stay with us. You're listening to WallBuilders Live. We're back on WallBuilders Live. Thanks for staying with us. And David, you were just talking about how having that many authors is a big deal. Does that guarantee passage? I mean, what does that really mean for us?
No, it doesn't guarantee passage. Now, we've covered on Good News Fridays the polling out there and the massive support that there is by citizens across the United States to be able to defend and protect themselves. What's happened with sales of guns, how they've just shot through the roof, particularly with ladies. So there's huge massive support for this. But over on the Senate side, you have the process that you have to follow. And just because Republicans have the House and the Senate and the presidency doesn't mean that they can pass this bill. Because on the Senate side, there is a rule that says you have to have 60 senators to bring this thing to the floor. That means you're going to have to get 8 Democrats to agree to have reciprocity. And right now, I don't think you'll find one Democrat who will agree to that. Now, what that means is this may not get passed, and people say, oh, the Republicans have control. They didn't get it passed. Yeah, but the Republicans have to follow the rules. Unlike the previous administration, they don't think you should have a pen and a phone to go around the Constitution. They'll actually try to follow it. And so in doing that, that means the rules and the process, and it's the Constitution that says each body gets to set up its own rules. And so under the Constitution, the Senate has set up these rules that say 60 votes. Now, here's where we get a shot at it. 2 years from now, we have midterm elections. 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election according to the Constitution, but in this particular election, out of the 33 senators to be up for re-election, 25 of them will be Democrats. And if people really want to see this kind of stuff get passed, they're going to have to take out some of those Democrat senators. They're going to have to get enough Republicans in there that you can get 60. And if you can get 60 Republicans, and if you can get the House, keep the House, and you'll have the president still, you can, for the first time in maybe 40 years, start really reforming government in a significant way, preserving the rights of the people and getting back to constitutional passage of laws. And that would be terrific. But that's going to be up to us in midterm elections. In the meantime, we can do everything we can to pressure and get this bill through and onto the president's desk.
Definitely, you're saying just because we had some victories in this last election doesn't mean go home and forget about it. It means a year from now, and even now, start working on those 2018 elections. It's going to be so important that we have some more victories then in order to really push this stuff over the finish line. So, folks, stay involved. Keep listening. Keep getting involved. Do your part to preserve that freedom for the next generation. What great opportunities we have this year. Hope you're engaged in them. Thanks for listening today to WallBuilders Live.
We stand under